Hello everyone, in this lecture we're going to talk about the Gestalt theory, which is a very important theory in visual design. So this is a design theory that could improve the overall visual structure, layout, and hierarchy in your design. So by learning this theory would help you to create better designs in upcoming project. Yeah, so let's start with some basic introduction. So the Gestalt is emerged in the early 20th century in Germany. This word is in German that could be translated into form or configuration. It's founded by a group of psychologists. These are the three prominent psychologists that developed this theory. Gestalt theory mainly focused on how people look at the world and how do we perceive and interpret visual elements or visual information. So here everyone could see it's a bag, right? So it's a bag formed up with different shapes inside. But we see the bag first before we pay any attention to the detailed shapes inside it. So this object makes sense to us because the composition of different shapes, but not the individual shapes. So for here, we could see there is a triangle here, but actually there's no triangle. There is just the gap of the circles, right? So, but our mind will fill in the gaps here and make us perceive the triangle. So our mind will always group things together and fill in the gaps automatically. So Gestalt is about how humans organize the visual information into meaningful patterns and structures. So the Gestalt theory plays a crucial role in graphic design, help designers understand how visual elements are perceived and organized by people. So there are 7 key principles in Gestalt theory. So we're going to go through them one by one with example and details. So the first is the proximity. So the proximity means when objects are close to each other are perceived as belonging with each other. So from here we can see there is one group of composition. Here we can perceive two composition because there is a distance between the two groups. While from this one we can perceive there are 3 groups of compositions. So for this example, we can see that the distance of the object has a stronger influence on grouping than the color does, right? We grouped the black dots with the red dots together instead of group them by colors. Yeah, so in the website, the design, they use a lot of proximity, right, for the layout. So the nearness of each image and its corresponding text communicates that they are related to one another. So this is one image, and here is the description of the particular object, right? One group, the other group. While in this website, it's the same thing as we grouped the image with its main title and the description as one group. And here is the second group, there's the third group. Our eye group things like this because they are close with each other. So they are related with each other. So the second principle is the similarity, which means when things appear to be similar to each other, we group them together, and we also tend to think they have the same function. So from in this image, there appears to be 2 separate, distinct groups based on the shape, right? Our eye grouped the circles as one shape, while the triangles as another sections, right? So in this example, we grouped the elements by its color, right? The same color is one group, while the other group of color is another group. Yeah, so in this website design, we can immediately tell that the gray section at the top serves a different purpose than the black section does, and also different purpose as the blue section does, right? So we can see this, the functions are separated by the background color. Well, we can also tell the color blue. So we can see they use the color blue to distinguish the links from regular text and to communicate that all blue text serve as the same function, right? All the blue text, they are the link, they are clickable, while the other text, they're just used for read, right? So this is how to use the color to share a same function. Yeah, so the third principles we're already very familiar with is the figure-ground relationship, right? So which means we naturally separate the visual information into the figure, which is the top object of focus, and the ground, which is the background against which the figures stand out. You can see the black rectangle is the ground, while the white apple here is the figure which stand out from the black background. Well, also the apple and the person's face also support each other to stand out, right? Yes, so the apple here turns into a ground while the face here turns into a figure, right? So usually one black and white, when the design is with a strong contrast, for example, black and white, white on black, or black and white, they are trying to use the principles of figure-ground relationship to make the elements standing out. Yes, and also in this example, we can see the eagle and the bear just support each other to stand out. So we got a lot of examples of figure and ground. So the next is the continuity. So continuity means elements that are arranged on a line or curved are perceived to be more related than elements not on the line or curve. So we can immediately see there's a curved line here, and we can see a straight line here, right? So we do not group those elements by colors, right? We do not group them by red and black. Instead, we group them as a line and a curved line here. Yeah. So usually, also when we think about the layout, we may always use the principles of continuity. So in many websites, they lay out their product as a straight line, so we can read from left to right, and also they lay out the same product as one line, right? So they are all books. And also when you want to explain something in steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, you'd better just line them up, right? Put them on one line so it's more comfortable for people to read them. So the next principle is the closure, which means when we look at a complex arrangement of visual elements, we tend to look for a single recognizable pattern. When you see an image that has missing part, our brain will fill in the blanks and make a complete image so you can still recognize the pattern. So we can see there's a zebra here, although there are a lot of gaps inside it, and also we can read IBM, although there are gaps inside them. We can perceive a flower, right? We can perceive a circle, right? Yeah, so with our eye will just always tend to see something that makes sense to us, that is meaningful to us. Yeah, so the next principle is about symmetrical and balance. So symmetrical layout or balanced composition often make people feel visually harmony and is pleasing to the eye. We can see a lot of popular famous logo, they are using the principle of symmetrical, and so does the patterns. Yeah, so the next one, the last one is the focal point. So this is similar to what we talked about with the emphasize principle, right? So whatever stands out visually will capture and hold viewers' attention first. Um, so usually the focal point is looks different than any other elements around it, such as the red square right inside a group of black circles, which make it stand out a lot. So usually when you're using the website, the important button, the most important button will be standing out, right? It's using a different color than other elements. It's just intended to catch your attention first, so people can find the important button easier. So that's a good example of focal points. Yeah, so just to determine how to use visual hierarchy, so how to group similar items and how to distinguish different ones is one of the most important function of Gestalt principle, right? And it also helps you to improve the consistency of your overall design and direct viewers' attention to the specific points of focus, increase the contrast, and help you to create conversations that are visually appealing, easy to understand, and communicate effectively. Yeah, so actually, let's see some of the design and talk about, and you can think about what Gestalt principles you can perceive in this design. So for this design, the first one, I can perceive the principles of proximity. Right, you can see all those shapes, they are staying near with each other. So I can see they form up a person, right? There is a person here standing here. And I can also perceive the similarity. We can see the circles, they are serving the same function. They are togetherly form up two arms here, while the body of the person is formed up by the diagonal line here, right? So the same elements serve the same purpose. We group them as one group, the same group of conversation. I can also perceive the closure. So although there is only a piece of, probably it's a hair, right? It's only a hair here. It doesn't draw out the face, but because of the principle of closure, we can still, our mind will still perceive a face here, right? We can just fill in the gap here to perceive a face. So in this design, so this is a typical figure ground design, right? So we can perceive an arm and a person's head here and the body here, right? And also I can see the principle of proximity, which is in the text, right? This is the title of this book. Although these they are using the different color for the text and they're having a different size, but we can still perceive them as one group. We can see this is the title because they are very close with each other. And I can also perceive the principle of continuity, right? We read the people's name from left to right, right? The way they are laying out just make us feel is the continuity. Yeah. And for this design, we can perceive the symmetrical and balance in the design, right? It's a symmetrical illustration. I can also perceive the principle of focal point. I can see the red, the yellow, the gold really very stand out from the background. Yeah. So here are more example of yes. So obviously this is a figure ground relationship design, and I can perceive the principle of proximity. We can see the box staying together, which serve as the same purpose. I can also perceive the similarity. While we can see the different color of the text, they're trying to convey the different types of information. While the white color here is probably is a name of the festival, right? while the gray color of the text is trying to express the dates of the event. And I can also perceive the principle of symmetrical, right? The fork, I can perceive a fork here, the shape of a fork, which is symmetrical and balanced. So in this logo, I can perceive the principle of proximity. You can see these elements, the graphics, they are staying togetherly from up the shape of the U. That is a symmetrical shape, and I can also perceive the principles of closure, right? Because those as you can see, although there are a lot of gaps inside the shape, it's not continuous. It's not a actual shape of the U, but we can still perceive the U, right? Our mind will fill in those gaps. So yeah, so for the last design, we can perceive the proximity, right? So each image is corresponding with a text because they are staying close to each other. We can also perceive the continuity because we can see there are two separate lines, right? Two separate straight lines, which is representing different types of information, different types of product, and also the similarity, right? So we notice that the ellipse image is the same types of the product, while the square under it is the other types of products, right? Yeah, so you can see the ellipse shapes is shop for spring, while the square shape is trying to show you the popular gifts right now. So this is how these designs used the Gestalt principles, right? So you might use some of those principles in your second project as well, right? So in the second project, you can try to in the presentation, you can try to talk about what Gestalt principles you utilized in your design. Yeah.